time.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Underestimated Podcast. Host Jeremy are back with another episode, and welcome back to another episode of Sand Shark Sundays. As y'all can tell, I may look as I feel. I feel fine. I just, am in overdrive mode because February for me is a extremely busy month that I did not necessarily realize until I got into it. But I'm handling it, I think, as best as I can. My main thing lately has just been maintaining, and I'm maintaining as best as I can, and just really trying to do what I can little by little to be better and be the best version of myself that I can be, because obviously that's what's gonna set me up for life. And right now is the foundation, and moving through that and building on that. So yeah, this is episode 4 of Sand Shark Sundays. I think we are now 2 episodes behind necessarily, because when I originally started this, because usually game days for us are Wednesday and Saturday, so it was like, to me it's like, okay, if we have a game on Wednesday, then that gives me Thursday, Friday, Saturday to accumulate whatever I can to be put out on Sunday. If we have a game on Saturday, then I just gotta really punch the clock and do what I can in a shorter span of time to make sure that it is out to y'all by the next day. But with the chaos that's been going on in the last month, and the state of South Carolina just suffered a snowstorm like 2 weeks ago. Or has it been 2 weeks? Yeah, well, you can say 2 weeks. And that's caused a delay of stuff. Like, so it's just been a lot of crazy stuff, and this has, I think I've underperformed y'all, unfortunately, in this series, and I apologize for that, because that's never my intent. I only want to give y'all the best possible content, and I'm doing the best that I can. It's just, I really think the interviews would kind of give y'all more perspective of the game. And the whole dissecting film thing, just probably won't happen this year. But the beauty of it is, potentially, I may bring it back next year, which is my senior year of college. So I may bring it back for season 2, because I believe that season 1 has done pretty good numbers, I would say. I think it's definitely on the trajectory to surpass what Salkahatchee Saturdays was in terms of viewership. But I can only take that with a grain of salt, because now with the publishing of this episode, this will, let alone already exceed the amount of episodes that Salkahatchee Saturday was in total. So, but that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about the USCB men. They defeated Middle Georgia, I believe, 89-74 a few days ago. And this, to me, wasn't, I'm not going to say I was dissatisfied with this win, because I am always a happier individual when we win. But it was just, some games mean more than others. And I mean, of course, you can say that there was another adding element to the fold when you think about how, Middle Georgia has a player in Christian Atwald, who was on our squad last year. Obviously, I experienced none of that because I was not here. So me and Christian do follow each other on Instagram, but I mean, he doesn't really know I exist, but I know he exists, kind of thing. And he's just, from what I know and what I see, a pretty nice and cool individual. So yeah, I think it's always more fun to defeat an opponent who has a player on their roster that you were a former teammate of, and they may not say it, but of course that win may have meant just a slight bit more to them. It wasn't our first time playing them. It actually was our last time playing Middle Georgia this year, because we played them a couple of months ago in Georgia and also got the win up there. So we sweep them on the year, so that's great. I think, but like I said, I think this was just another building block of trying to just stack wins to just ultimately achieve the ultimate goal. And that's, first thing being winning the conference tournament, and then that's winning the big thing, winning the national tournament. But it starts here. It starts in the regular season, and of course we all know the regular season is only a sample size of what you'll get in the playoffs, because I just looked at the schedule today and didn't realize that there's only 5 more games in basketball season, and it just feels like yesterday. Just feels like yesterday when I was getting that call from Coach Ron and talking about, everything that we look to accomplish as individuals and as a cohesive unit. When I get to campus and look at how things have gone, and I'm only but so thankful how those guys have just brought me in and treated me like a little brother. I'll admit, I'm like a little brother to them, and I'm grateful, because with what I've gone through in life, they could absolutely treat me a whole lot worse for a whole lot of stupid reasons. But it is what it is. But yeah, this was a good win. To tell you the truth, I wasn't able to catch a whole lot of it because, like I said, February has been chaotic and colossal for me, because I have now proudly been able to say that I have announced games for men's basketball, women's basketball, softball, and baseball. And for college, obviously, as some of you may know, baseball season is in full effect. And I've been having to mix the two. And so, unfortunately, yet not so unfortunately, I've been having to sacrifice a bit of basketball in order to contribute to baseball and softball to a certain degree. And so I believe when I got to the game, there was about 8 minutes left in the second half. And it was a different element. Like, usually, anybody who's worked in the sports, like game day business, broadcasting business, whatever the case may be, will tell you that if they have been, granted the experience of both watching the game and working within the game, then they'll tell you it is a huge difference between getting to watch the game as a fan and watching it and working, because it's just a whole lot more focus and attention that has to go into it. Like, I think I express myself a ton more when I'm just watching the game as opposed to when I'm working, because I'm locked in. Like, I'm trying to, I got a job to uphold and fulfill. So it's not necessarily, I mean, of course it's the same joy because I'm doing what I love to do at the end of the day, but you can't really be a quote unquote fan and do what we do, kind of just to put it like that. So I will admit, it is fun when I do get a chance to actually watch them as a fan and as a alum of the university. The 8 minutes that I watched, I mean, they kind of just kept things afloat. They didn't do too much. Didn't really. There was a point in time where I believe Middle Georgia was of the belief that they had a chance at coming back, but we were able to sustain what we had already built in the first half, and and on from there to immediately just crush that belief, because there was like a point in time where I think like Middle Georgia shot like 6 free throws in a row, and from what I was hearing, the dude that was getting those attempts, hadn't really been much of a factor on offense the entire night. And so he chose the absolute right time to get involved. And so when you look at it, it's a lot that I can only say so much because I only saw so much. I mean, of course, I went back and did my fair share of like retrieving what I could from the broadcast video playback, but even with that, Q led the way. He had 23. I believe he was one of 3 guys to score in double figures for USCB. I think it was him, Dylan, and Dom who all scored in double figures, which doesn't surprise me because, like I said, the thing that this roster possesses, like, we don't necessarily have a guy that is like, I mean, I think any of our guys, if the team were built that way, could be the star and fulfill everything that comes with it. But that's just not the way our team is built. Like, they don't care who comes in on that particular day and potentially gets 20 or 30 or whatever. Like, they just want to win. They just want to win and get better, not just as individuals, but as a team. And they are absolutely a team. Like I said, those boys, those dudes do just about everything together. And I've been, granted the opportunity to do, a majority of those things with them. Like, I can't wait to see them next week at practice, even though tomorrow is my only day off, because today I worked an 11-hour shift because we hosted a Low Country Classic this weekend for softball, and I announced every single game dating back to yesterday. Yesterday it was 3 games, and today it was 3, which means 6 in the past 2 days. But I love every bit of it, and I, recognize that there's so much that I can get better at, and that's just the beautiful thing of it all. You get to get better, you get to be better potentially, and that's just the beauty of it all. Like I said, Q led the way with 23 points. But that's kind of where I was going with that whole point. What I just said. Like, I advocated so much for this dude. Like, I don't think he knows this, but I kept telling everyone that I could. I was like, wait till Q get back. Wait till Q get back, because when Q get back, it's gonna get real. And now, granted, I don't think even though Q's been back, I believe it should be about 10 games now. If it's not 10 games by now, he's right at it. Like, it's probably 8, but I believe he's been back 10 games now. The difference it has been with him just being on the floor. I realized that in practice. Obviously when you I think we all do that, of course. Like as humans, when we're placed in a new environment, we try to feel it out. We try to see, sort of the old notion of throwing doodles at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so, when I first get there, I'm looking at everyone, and seeing if there's potentially the guy, a guy that's like, okay, like him, like he kind of just leads the way and everybody else just falls in line. Nah. But with me saying that, I saw one thing I can admire about those boys is how hard they practice. The way that they play, the way they practice is not very far from it. In terms of them, any game is not a big difference from the way they practice. They play how they prepare. Or should I say they prepare how they play? However way that sounds correct, that's what I mean. You don't, what you see is never going to be a fluke. They've done that. Whatever you see on game day is what they've done throughout the course of maybe 3 days or so throughout the week before that particular day or that particular game. So yeah, you have Q coming in with 23. Like I said, the way he practices, tremendous player in practice, and that's what gave me the confidence to know, like, yeah, when he gets back, as long as he translates it's not an easy thing to do at all, but as long as he translates what he does in practice to game time, oh man, the ceiling is, as high as can be. And for the most part, he's done that. I think, like I said, there's something that we all can get better at. And they got, believe it or not, I think as of today, because where I sit at today, or where they sit at today, or where the world sits at today, they are 17-7, which I don't feel the greatest about, but I know what's in that locker room. I know what's on that roster, and I know that this team is not 17-7. And they're only gonna get better. Like, they have a big test. They've lost back-to-back games. They lost to Columbus State a couple days ago, and I actually called that game. And then they lost again today to GSW, Georgia Southwestern. And now they have Lander on Monday. And now they have not only, because we had the 1 seed for like a day. I remember, like, I don't know. I think because we had just gotten into baseball season, and baseball started off pretty hot, or has started off pretty hot. And so I'm checking the Peach Belt Conference standings for all our teams. I'm like, all right, let's see where everybody at. And so I look at the boys, and the boys were the first seed, and I'm like, huh? Like, and we had the 1 seed for like a day. Literally a day. We lost to Columbus and lost that 1 seed immediately. But now, with us now losing to Georgia Southwestern today, we have not only lost the 1st seed, but we have dropped back to the 3rd seed. So that sucks. But and y'all can say that I'm saying this just because we're the 3rd seed now, but we get into the playoffs, like, it's back to 0-0. Like, nothing of what we did in the regular season. No, like, it's back to 0-0. It's back, back to the basics. Start from the bottom, and we just got to work our way back up. And, the Peach Belt is real. Like, I think I said this on the call the other day when I was calling Columbus versus USCB. I was like, one could argue that the Peach Belt Conference of Division Two is like the SEC of Division Two because, dude, like, no matter what the record is, no matter who is suiting up on that particular day and where you're at, if you're playing in conference in the Peach Belt on any particular day, you can always lose. Like, we have just lost back-to-back games against two teams that, like I would never, like, I'm not going to discredit anyone because they win. They won. Like, you beat us. Congrats to you. But it's like, I just know what's on that team. And I love basketball, so I'll always commend a good hooper. Like, there have been times when, like, a dude, I think Clayton State, I believe. It was early in the season. We played Clayton State, and Clayton State dude gave us 40. I can't think of his name right now. But I believe he was number 3. He gave us 40. And, you know, that same day, I was like, oh, yeah, he got it. He can hoop. Do I think Clayton State is anywhere? No. And, I mean, needless to say, he had 40 that game. We still beat them. But, I mean, because, you know, obviously, you can have 40, but you got to have something to support it. I mean, basketball is a two-way game. You got to be able to score on people and also stop somebody. So, you can't just do one or the other. And that's why most people that you see can't do both to an exceptional level don't succeed very long, for that matter. And that's the thing with us too. I'll admit, you know, that's the thing with us too. Like, I think we have a lot of very good defenders on the team, but it's like, you know, if we're obviously concern tends to build when you're putting up high numbers and you're winning, but you're also giving up high numbers as well. Like, for instance, I'm saying this as if we were, you know, a team that would consistently lose. Let's say, for instance, if I'm on a team, right? If I'm averaging 105 points a game, right? That's great. That's phenomenal. But I also give up 120 a game. That's my season average. That is horrible. That's not us, by the way. I'm just saying, you know, you putting up big numbers is great. It's a very impressive thing. There might be some impression taken off because of the way the game has changed, but nonetheless, it's still impressive. But you also got to be able to stop somebody. And so we just, you know, got to take that into account, you know. And this was a game that was definitely a game of runs. That's what basketball is. Basketball is a game of runs. You know, if I go on an 8-point run to start the game off, but you go on a 16-point run to combat what I just did, now you're beating me by 8. Now I'm playing catch up, and so that's kind of what this game was. You know, we started off on fire. Middle Georgia fought back, and they ended up cutting the lead to 2. Then we kind of, you know, woke up and followed suit, and we got it together and kind of held them by the throat the rest of the way. So, yeah, super proud of them. I believe the next episode will be me talking about the women's loss to Clayton State. Not Clayton State, I'm sorry, Columbus State. And then the next episode will be me talking about the guys lost today against Georgia Southwestern, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But it's been fun. I'm still doing what I can to try to make this better, because I don't think, like I said, this hasn't gone exactly how I envisioned it. But a lot of it's me, you know. I got to do my part. So, but I will trust, you know. like I said, we're only on episode 4, and I told y'all like a couple episodes ago that don't be surprised if the second half of this series is miles better than the first half of it. And we're almost to that point because things are moving fast. And I mean, by the time I put out the episode that is about Georgia Southwestern defeating our guys team, that would technically be episode 6. So we getting there. But yeah, this is a great game for my guys. I mean, we're just stacking everything, and don't really want to say anything that's foreshadowing. Excuse me, the games to come that I have to speak about. But yeah, like I said, great game. Like I said, Qurahn adds 23 points. Dom added a double with 15 to 10. Here we go. Shea scored in double figures, and Dom added 3 blocks as well. And that's the one thing I love about Dom, man. Dom is a two-way player. Dom is capable, if he wants to, will give you 30 and stop your opposing team's best player from getting 30. Guarding them. So that's my guy. That's my dog. We finished the game with Evan Kilminster, that guy, number 11. He scored the final points of the game, sealing our 89-74 victory. So we recorded 5 blocks in that game. Played pretty good defensively. But we can get better. We can get better defensively for sure. And I think they know that. And I think they will get better defensively, of course. And then, so we scored 50 points in the paint, helping secure the 15-point win. So, yeah, I mean, you obviously, you establish a paint presence that typically will open up things for you in the perimeter, or vice versa. If you establish a presence from 3, that opens up, driving lanes for paint opportunities. So, like, we have shooters from top to bottom. So, if truth be told, I like it when we, establish a paint presence later on, because then the threes can just start raining in. And once we get 2 or 3 or even 4 of our guys to get going from 3, it's just a long night for anybody who's on the opposing side of things. But nonetheless, that's all I got. Like I said, great win for my guys. I will get into what has transpired since then. Like I said, don't want to get into it too much on this particular episode, because this is about their win against Middle Georgia. Great day, vibes were high, and it was all around great day and a great moment for me to kind of just celebrate, as a fan. And because just when you see all the work that I've seen them put in day in and day out, it's they get a lot of disdain that they don't truly deserve. So it's good to just see them maintain it all and balance it all and still be great, not just basketball players, but great humans. And that's something that Coach Ron always emphasizes with them. Let's not just be great athletes, great basketball players, but great people. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna try to get some very needed rest So without further ado, don't underestimate, appreciate, go.